you are?
He comes to find his princess.
Succeed in destroying this demon, all those who he spit.
Introduction Dracula is one of the most famous and enduring characters in the history of cinema. The name Dracula instantly brings images of darkness, mystery, castles, and immortality. For more than a century, Dracula has fascinated audiences through novels, stage plays, and especially movies. From classic black and white horror films to modern cinematic adaptations, Dracula remains a powerful symbol of fear, romance, and tragedy. The character was originally created by Bram Stoker in his 1897 novel Dracula, which laid the foundation for almost every vampire story that followed. Since then, countless films have been made, each reimagining Dracula in a new way, sometimes as a terrifying monster, sometimes as a tragic lover, and sometimes as a modern anti-hero. Origin of Dracula in literature before discussing movies. It is important to understand the literary roots of Dracula. Bram Stoker's Dracula tells the story of Count Dracula, a centuries-old vampire from Transylvania who travels to England to spread his undead curse. The novel uses letters, diary entries, and newspaper articles to build suspense. Dracula is portrayed as intelligent, powerful, and deeply evil, yet strangely charismatic. The novel was inspired partly by Vlad the Impaler, a real historical figure from Romania known for his brutal methods. Over time, fiction blended history and myth, creating the Dracula we know today. Dracula in cinema. A brief history. Early cinema, 1931. The first truly iconic Dracula film was released in 1931. Starring Bela Lugosi. This version established many of Dracula's most recognizable traits. The black cape, the heavy accent, the hypnotic stare. This film defined Dracula for generations and turned him into a permanent horror icon. Gothic era, 1950s. 1950s, 1958. Hammer Films released Dracula starring Christopher Lee. This version was more violent, colorful, and sensual than earlier portrayals. Lee's Dracula was tall, threatening, and physically powerful. Later adaptations in the 1970s, such as the 1979 Dracula, added romance and emotional depth, showing Dracula not only as a villain but also as a lonely immortal. Bram Stoker's Dracula 1992. One of the most important modern adaptations is Bram Stoker's Dracula 1992. Directed by Francis Ford Coppola. Key details: release year, 1992. Genre, Gothic horror romance. Director, Francis Ford Coppola. Main cast: Gary Oldman, Count Dracula, Winona Ryder, Mina Harker, Keanu Reeves, Jonathan Harker, Anthony Hopkins. Van Helsing story overview. This film closely follows Stoker's novel but adds a strong romantic angle. Dracula is shown as a tragic figure, cursed by immortality after losing his beloved wife. His love for Mina becomes the emotional center of the story. Importance: won 3 Academy Awards, famous for its costumes, makeup, and practical effects. Considered one of the best and most artistic Dracula films ever made. Dracula Untold 2014 overview. Release year, 2014. Genre, action, fantasy, horror. Star, Luke Evans. This movie reimagines Dracula as a heroic figure. It tells the origin story of Vlad Tepes, who makes a dark bargain to save his people. While the film received mixed reviews, it introduced Dracula to a new generation as an action hero. Dracula 2025, modern artistic interpretation. Basic information. Title: Dracula, year 2025. Director, Radu Jude. Genre, satirical drama, experimental. Cinema runtime, approximately 170 minutes. Languages: Romanian, English, German. Story, concept, and like traditional horror movies. Dracula 2025 is an experimental and artistic film. It focuses on a filmmaker who uses artificial intelligence to create a Dracula movie. The AI begins blending different versions of Dracula from history, cinema, and literature. resulting in a surreal and chaotic narrative. Themes: the evolution of Dracula in popular culture, the role of artificial intelligence in art, satire of modern filmmaking, myth versus reality. This film is mainly targeted at film festivals and art house audiences, not mainstream horror fans. Main themes in Dracula. Movies 1. Immortality. Dracula's eternal life is both a gift and a curse. Many films explore the loneliness and suffering that come with living forever. 2. Love and visual end. Law's modern adaptations often portray Dracula as a tragic lover searching for lost love, making him more human and sympathetic. 3. Fear of the unknown. Dracula represents humanity's fear of death, darkness, and things beyond understanding. 4. Power and corruption. Dracula's supernatural abilities symbolize unchecked power and its consequences. Cultural impact of Dracula. Dracula has influenced horror movies, TV series, comics, video games, fashion, and music. He is one of the most recognizable characters in the world, alongside Frankenstein and Sherlock Holmes. The word vampire itself is now inseparable from Dracula. Why Dracula is still popular even after more than 100 years. Dracula remains relevant because he can be reinterpreted for every generation. His story mixes horror, romance, and tragedy. He reflects changing social fears and desires. Every era creates the Dracula it needs, sometimes terrifying, sometimes romantic, sometimes philosophical. Conclusion: Dracula is more than just a movie character. He is a timeless legend. From the silent horror of early cinema to modern experimental films, Dracula continues to evolve. Whether shown as a monster, a hero, or a tragic immortal, Dracula remains one of the most powerful figures in movie history, with new adaptations and creative interpretations still being made. The story of Dracula is far from over. As long as people are fascinated by darkness, immortality, and forbidden love, Dracula will continue to rise from the shadows.